so sorry. My microphone unplugged itself because technology does not need to work. So basically, I guess at this point, if you don't know what the movement tech is, look it up. Because I'm not saying those again, we're too busy going through with the battling section here. Battling will copy your movements 3 seconds behind you. So, you kind of want to keep moving so she doesn't catch you. And you definitely want to be careful later in the section where you kind of have to do some backtracking involving some of these keys in order to get to the end of the screen. Looks like Kaizen getting through this section fine. And Sylverfyst also making good progress. Sylverfyst getting to this last screen here as Kaizen's in the await section. The screen on Sylverfyst's end is always really scary because it's very long and it has no checkpoints except for at the beginning, so if you mess it up, it's a lot of time lost, but Sylverfyst gets through as Kaizen makes it to the end of the chapter. Very good old site. And now going to be moving on to Celestial Resort. Celestial Resort is where the game gets a lot more difficult, and this stage in particular is awful because there's going to be cycles where you kind of have to react based on how well you're doing, because if you play a screen slower than normal, the dust bunnies here might be in different places than what you're used to. So you kind of have to be really careful about those or else you can take damage and die. You see Kaizen knows what he's doing there to get through the section. Sylverfyst, they're going to be heading on to Chapter 3 with Kaizen. Alright, we'll see how Kaizen getting through these rooms, and so is Sylverfyst. Sylverfyst enters the hotel as well. Both of them pretty close so far. This is a really good race. Kaizen unfortunately having a little bit of a hiccup here, but gets through its second try, so very nicely done. You're going to be going for this extended to get the key, very nice. Meanwhile, Sylverfyst a few screens behind. A good reset there, because if you know you're not going to make it, why waste your time waiting for the death animation to happen, or just whatever fall you have to make to die to happen. Kaizen about to enter the huge mess, where we're going to see 3 different branching paths that each have a button at the end of them. And you need to hit all 3 buttons to clean up the whole mess and get the key at the middle of it. It looks like Kaizen is about a button path or so ahead of Sylverfyst here, which is not a lot of time, so definitely a very good race so far. I think I meant to say that the other way around. Kaizen is a button ahead. Might have said that wrong. Don't remember. I'm already blanking out here. Just kind of trying to focus on what's actually happening instead of what did. Because that's all you have to do in this game, is you can't really focus too much on what did happen. You just kind of have to know what's about to happen. And Sylverfyst not taking the spike jump here, deciding let's just go safety and do the normal way. Very respectable decision. Especially when your PB is a 47. Some strats are just not worth going for if you're not comfortable enough with them. That was a really interesting jump from Kaizen there. And Kaizen now about to finish up the huge mess, gonna get the key in the middle and lead towards the elevator shaft. As Sylverfyst is now about to hit their second button for their second path, so doing pretty good at keeping up and not making Kaizen's lead bigger as they go through this chapter. With Kaizen advancing through the chapter as well as Sylverfyst. Ooh, that's kind of unfortunate from Kaizen. This is not a very nice room to die in because although there are a lot longer rooms, this one still is kind of unpleasant. This is another kind of unpleasant one that fortunately Kaizen makes it through fine. And I'm going to be getting onto this screen, which falls in the Dust Bunnies and then gets it that try. Very nicely done. Resets there because keys actually will carry you even if you die. And retrying is the fastest way to get back to the beginning of that screen to go where you're supposed to use the key. And Kaizen about to enter the Ashiro fight here, where Ashiro will charge at you by tracking your height and then doing a dash across the screen. You have to not get hit, otherwise you'll die. You can jump on him, and that'll give you you back your dash and stamina. But usually you just kind of want to try to outrun him, or just straight up avoid him if possible. With Sylverfyst getting onto this screen. Also second try, very nicely done. And Kaizen on the last screen of the level here, as Sylverfyst is on the last screen before the Ashiro section. The last screen of this whole level is one of the most annoying because it's one of the longest screens in the whole level. Basically, I think the longest screen in the whole level, and also has no checkpoints in it throughout the whole thing. So if you die right at the very end of it, like Kaizen just did there, you're back to the beginning of the screen, and it's just a lot of time lost that can add up if you die multiple times. Sylverfyst just now going to be entering the final section of the level, the fight with Ashiro. And Kaizen is done with Chapter 4. Chapter 3, my bad, gonna be heading into Chapter 4, which is Gold Ridge. So Golden Ridge, you got a few of your newer mechanics. You got some bouncy clowns, you got some dash bubbles, where they basically act as an extra dash, and then you also have your wind, which pushes you. So a lot of stuff that lets you move around really quickly throughout the entirety of Chapter 3 here. And Sylverfyst is on the last screen of the Ashiro fight here. Getting close to the end of it. Hopefully will not die at the end of it. Alright, and Sylverfyst is out of Chapter 3. Very nicely done. As Kaizen heading for this spike jump. There we go. Very nicely done. That can be that kind of tricky spike jump. And Sylverfyst now joining Kaizen in Golden Ridge here. Kaizen a bit of a lead on Sylverfyst, but Sylverfyst still doing very well, despite being behind Kaizen by about, I want to say, a minute or so. Looks like both of them are doing very good so far on making it through this chapter as fast as they can. Both seem to be nailing the strats that they're going for. Unfortunate death there from Sylverfyst, but those happen. Yeah, gets that jump. That's a kind of hard jump. And Kaizen's just nailing this whole stage right now. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, so wait for this auto-scroller. And Sylverfyst messes up this. I don't think It looks like Sylverfyst is not going to be going through the spike jump. But still makes it through the room rather quickly. So, no need to worry about the time loss from it because it's going to be very minor. As Kaizen wraps up this room and makes it to the cliff face. The winds here are so harsh that you basically have to be doing some sort of dash in order to even move. So, you're going to see... I mean, you're always going to see a lot of dashing in this game, but you're going to see dashing basically being the only way we can even move. And therefore, you kind of have to dash maybe a lot more than you're comfortable with, especially with these snowballs flying at you, which will hurt you and track your height, just like a Shiro did. It's a very scary part of the chapter for sure, but it looks like right now Kaizen is doing just perfectly fine on it. Oh, geez, that's some really good use of the snowballs and knowing how they work to get through that room deathless. And now after this, going to be heading on to the last screen of the level. Getting that berry, maybe for the swag, and that's chapter 4 for Kaizen. Sylverfyst a few screens away from that final cliff face section, so doing pretty good at making sure Kaizen doesn't get too far ahead. Having a bit of trouble with this screen here, but that's to be expected because this screen is very difficult with the wind and all the small platforms. So, Kaizen moving very quickly with these dash blocks and red bubbles. I'm actually going to be using a dash block here to get a skip. That skips using a red bubble, so take that, using one level mechanic to skip another level mechanic, saving a little bit of time. We'll do that again later. We'll skip another level, we'll skip another thing, we'll talk about that later. This is my favorite level, personally, in the run, because there's a lot more crazier looking things compared to some of the other chapters, and also just some of the more interesting skips in general, in my opinion, happen in this chapter. Kaizen is just going through it very easily so far. Sylverfyst nearing the end of chapter 4, doing very good on progressing through the cliff face. Unfortunately, taking a death there right at the end of that screen. This is a very challenging screen, so it's understandable if you happen to have a death here, but of course it's very unfortunate. And Kaizen not going to be heading up to the mirror, as Sylverfyst is about to enter the final screen of chapter 4. So once you hit the 2 switches for these mirror, you're going to be able to go into the mirror and you're going to see this thing pop out of a statue. That thing is a secret, and just like in the gameplay demo, this thing can dash, this thing can move everywhere, this thing can break these walls, and this thing can kill Madeline. So Kaizen gonna be falling down here as Sylverfyst enters the chapter. Alright, so now the Seekers are enemies for Kaizen. We have Sylverfyst getting that little skip there. Yeah, but now these Seekers that you saw Kaizen playing as are now enemies. And have to avoid them. But one thing you notice is we're able to kind of abuse them because they can hit these switches that we need to open the door. And so we can kind of abuse them by using the fact that they track our position to get them to hit a key for us, and that can be faster than having to go all the way to hit a key ourselves. Because sometimes that's just not worth it with how far out of the way a key can be. Looks like Kaizen's good on this section though. Meanwhile, Sylverfyst making good progress through the beginning portion of Mirror Temple, having a few troubles trying to get this little skip here, and going for an alternate setup, very nicely done. And Kaizen coming up on the biggest skip of the run. Here we have Search Skip, where you skip a lot of this portion of the search checkpoint, where you're supposed to get these two keys by just doing a reverse extended hyper, and then jumping through the spikes and coming out the other side. It saves a ton of time, possibly the biggest skip in the run, and also still not that challenging of a skip. So if you want to get into this game, that's something to definitely look at when you get to learning Mirror Temple. So now, as Sylverfyst is with playing as the Seeker, we have Kaizen with Theo. Theo, when you have Theo picked up, it makes you slower and weightier, and you cannot dash. However, if you dash and then pick up Theo, you will kind of keep your momentum a bit. So you can still like throw them and then hyper dash and pick them up mid hyper dash, and you'll have your hyper dash. And that's basically what we're going to be doing to go as fast as possible. Well, we have Theo with us. And Kaizen getting through this room. Well, really scary with those Seekers, but still made it through fine, so no more need to worry about that. And now in the final 3 screens of the level here, as Sylverfyst is working through the unraveling checkpoint. And that is the end of chapter 5. You want to dash through those waves so they don't push you back as much as possible. And Sylverfyst now entering that search section, so about to be coming up on the big skip. At the beginning of Reflection, there are those feathers, which you're going to see throughout the whole chapter, which you can move omnidirectionally there in order to move wherever you need to go. And then there's the crust blocks here, which you dash into to knock in a certain direction. And you can use you're going to be using these throughout most of chapter 6. And they're both fairly easy mechanics, so That's good, because it makes this chapter a fairly simple one. Not really every chapter in this game is pretty difficult, but this one is kind of simple in how it works. Sylverfyst now teaming up with Theo. Having a little bit of problem getting a strat here. And at this point, I'd honestly just recommend doing the screen a different way. Yeah. And Kaizen coming up on the split path section where you can take these different routes throughout these different screens. And there's different screens on the top and bottom. And you basically just want to go to whatever screen is fastest. With some people use the variants in screens depending on how they feel. But from Kaizen, I don't know if we'll see a difference compared to the normal route or the same thing we always see. That was a very nice boost off that crust block there. I've actually never seen that. Sylverfyst in the latter half of the Theo section here, so really close to being finished with the whole entirety of Chapter 5. Meanwhile, Kaizen onto the last section of the split paths, going to be going down here. The bit up and down on the last one is usually where you see the biggest. It's usually the biggest undecided point because if your movement is like just right, the upper one is like very slightly faster, but it's very hard to do compared to the bottom one, so you usually see the bottom one more often. Especially when you use those pinball bumpers for what's called a bumper boost. Where if you dash into a bumper and you're holding away from the bumper at the right time, you'll get bumped like extra far. And you can use it to skip a bumper in that last split path room actually. And now going through these holes in the spikes. Sylverfyst is done with Chapter 5, but those holes in the spikes for Kaizen were actually intended skips, where you can skip checkpoints, so they're kind of risky, but you can just go through the spikes faster by going through the holes. And now Kaizen just has Battling Boots. So, upcoming is the boss fight with Battling, but just before that boss fight, Kaizen's going to be getting ready to use the Kevin block's momentum to dash all the way through this corridor very quickly and get to the fight against Battling. So starting the fight, just as Sylverfyst here is in the lake. A very, very good lead by Kaizen right now. But we'll see how this fight goes. Because this fight can be merciless with how the cycles work and really just how the stage design and level design works in these sections. Can be very rude. Kaizen's making great progress right now. It looks like Sylverfyst is going to be not doing neutral jumps here, going to be actually grabbing a feather like you're intended to do in this section to make it up to this next part of the level. Alright, and... Alright, it looks like Sylverfyst is into these split paths now as Kaizen is making great progress through the fight. About to get to a certain point in the fight that happens in like the last third maybe of it. We're gonna be coming up on the remix portion where the blocks here are gonna be moving up and down or back and forth depending on the screen in cycles. So it's more cycle-based movement that you have to keep track of in order to know the best way to go through it. Is Silver still going through some of these screens in the split path section. Doing very good so far in Chapter 6, but still kind of a big gap of space between Silver and Kaizen. We'll see what Sylverfyst can do to make that up. Kaizen, now on that final feather, and is now done with the fight against Battling. So at the end of the fight, you level up where you and Battling work together, and you now have 2 dashes. So your hair turns pink to signal that you have 2 air dashes instead of the normal orangish red that says, hey, you have 1 dash left. And it looks like we have Sylverfyst actually going for the top route on that last split path. Then you saw Kaizen go for the bottom, so you can see what it's like. And Sylverfyst making it through to the next section of the level where you have to kind of start chasing down Battling as Kaizen moves on to the final section, or the final chapter of the whole game here. So, since you have 2 dashes throughout the entirety of this level, the game likes to kind of take advantage of that, and it has, this stage is just full of just open pits and also a ton of spikes on the ground. So one thing you're going to be seeing about the stage is you're going to be seeing a lot of just pain everywhere. You're going to have to try and stay in the air a lot just to make it through screens. And since a lot of our movement techniques involve being on the ground, like hypers or extendeds or stuff like that, that is not always the best option, the preferred option, to have to do a ton of air movement. So we have to work on what to do to kind of do our movement tech while also getting through the screens. And it looks like Sylverfyst, my bad, I'm thinking of the wrong person, makes it through this checkpoint, getting the safety checkpoint there, making it through the screen, using the dev intended skips. Along with being a pit and spike infested place, Summit is also a recap of every other chapter. So for example, this 500 meter section is a recall to the Forsaken City, which is the first chapter. Looks like Sylverfyst is already on the remix. No, this is not the remix section. I'm seeing things, my bad. But is in the battle line fight now. Well, Kaizen is moving on to 1,000 meters. Unfortunate death there. That can be a kind of hard place to do correctly. This Kaizen's nearing the end of the 1,000 meter section here. Alright, and it looks like now we have Kaizen in 1500. Just like the original Celestial Resort, this section has a lot of very mean long screens with no checkpoints in them, and also a lot of very mean dust bunny cycles that don't like being where you want them to be. So it can be a very annoying stage of the level to get through, especially this room where you die right at the end of it and you're back in the beginning. Loses a lot of time. It's just not a lot of fun to deal with. Looks like Silver is playing things really safe with this battle in Laser here, but still gets caught in it, unfortunately, having to go back to the beginning of this screen just before the remix portion of the fight. And it looks like Kaizen is safely going to be going through here in an attempt to just get through the screen instead of having to deal with all the fastest strats, which is definitely an understandable move. And now Kaizen onto the last screen of 1500, so about to be entering the 2000 mark. Meanwhile, we have Sylverfyst in the remix now, so... Oh no! Kaizen a bit too low to hit battle in there. And has to do this whole screen again. All these ending screens where you have to get the battle in orbs are fairly long and difficult, so messing up on them is pretty bad, but also kind of common, which is not a good combination. And there we go. Kaizen now onto the 2000 meter section. Sylverfyst into the final 2 rooms of the fight against Battlein. Alright. Now more wind, because wind is everybody's favorite part of Chapter 4. Just kidding, I lied. It was the snowballs. Ooh. Accidentally taking a death there. Sylverfyst now leveling up, finishing the battle and fight, and just has to climb up here to finish the chapter. And Kaizen heading to this auto-scroller. We'll see if he goes for auto-scroller skip, where you have to do an extended. Does not look like doing it. So they're going to do this the normal way, where you ride the block the whole time. As Sylverfyst is going to be finishing Chapter 6 and heading on to Summit, where Kaizen currently is going to be getting through the last couple screens of the 2000 meter portion. Having a few scary encounters, but being able to save it. And, alright, Sylverfyst. I'm thinking of the wrong person still. But Sylverfyst now working through the beginning of Summit here, as Kaizen's about to enter 2500 meter. So 2500 meter is actually pretty difficult because there are going to be a few skips here that are kind of notorious for one reason or another, and you're probably going to see them. At least some of them. For example, one coming up after this room you're going to see is going to be key skip, where instead of going down below to get a red bubble, Kaizen's going to do 2 neutral wall jumps and then hit that, and to double dash upwards to get to the key, where you then will intentionally retry to get back to the bottom of the screen a little bit faster. Coming up, we also have this screen where a trick that is really hard. You can position yourself perfectly and do a diagonal dash right through there. Very nice. And going for a door skip, which saves a second, is very hard and is a meme, and it's not worth it at all. Kaizen getting it and being a little happy about it, obviously. Well, Sylverfyst makes their way through the 500-meter section. Nearing the end of it now, so going to be close to 1,000 as Kaizen enters 3,000, which is the final section. Now it's going to be kind of, Summit is done recapping the other chapters because there's no more other chapters to recap. Now it's time to become its own level where you have big screens with checkpoint flags that count down from 30 to the top of the mountain. And you also have stuff like upwards and downward winds, which will kind of alter your gravity, make you heavier or floatier depending on where the wind is blowing. So here in this downwards portion, in this downward portion where you're going to fall faster, not be able to jump or dash as high, kind of have to be really careful because you can get just like sent straight into... You can be sent straight into spikes like an anchor on a ship, basically. Alright. Kaizen now through the downwards wind section, going to be heading into the upwards wind section, where you're much floatier, so you can move a lot higher, you fall a lot slower. And so the game is like, hey, you can have more airtime, so let's just have a ridiculous amount of spikes, because that's good design, right? And so there's a lot of spikes in this section. Making good progress here, though, as Sylverfyst is also making good progress through Summit, being in 1,500-meter portion right now. About to get to some of the very scary screens, so we'll see how Sylverfyst is going to do on those after this one. And Kaizen in the last 10 flags of Summit, going to be finishing very, very soon, hopefully. Just has to get through here. Gonna be skipping flag 8 for the sake of not having to waste time going to get it, because it is very far out of the way. And it looks like Sylverfyst is taking things very safely through these rooms here in the resort, which is a very understandable tactic because, not resort, but the 1,500-meter section that is themed after resort. Because it is a very scary section that can cause a lot of deaths if you're not careful. So sometimes it's good to just play them carefully. That's actually really interesting to try, though, force from Sylverfyst that I don't think I've ever seen. So that's very cool. As Kaizen is now into the last 2 flags here. And makes it to the final flag. Just gotta scale up this small area here. Make sure you make it to the top of the mountain. Oh no! Accidentally retrying. Hitting a wall instead of being able to move forward and retrying, thinking that they were going to skip the cutscene. And still finishes with a 40-19, still GG's to Kaizen on the finish. As Sylverfyst is moving through 2,000 meters, we have Kaizen with us. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing good. That was a very good race.
Ah, it was. It beats it at 2,000. That's very close, actually. Nice.
Yeah.
Good. So, did you guys like that retry next to the flag?
That was very sad.
You want to know what's funny?
What?
I still PB'd by less than a second.
Good job!
Thank you. Oh man, that was a race. Let's not talk about 1500, okay?
Yeah, no, don't worry. I don't like talking about 1500.
But I really don't have much to say other than, you know, this was fun. I finally PB'd. My chat's probably losing its mind right now. But
yeah.
Thank you guys for hosting the race. I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, I got stuff I have to do, so I can't be on long. But when Silver does come on, tell him GG. I love him to death, and I hope he gets out of groups anyways.
All right, we'll definitely convey that message.
And again, thank you for the restream, guys, and I hope you all have a great night. Peace.
Right. Peace out. Thank you, Kaizen, for that. And Sylverfyst making good progress here through the end of 2000. About to enter the last screen. Alright, now it just has 2 more sections of Summit left. 2,500 and 3,000. We'll see what skips. We'll see what 2,500 skips Sylverfyst decides to go for here. Getting that strat. Gonna be missing the wave dash. Gonna be doing this wave dash though for the speed. Very nice. We'll see how they do the wave dashes here. Play that a little safe, missing the dash to give regeneration. Still very nice. And it looks like gonna be going for key skip here. Looks like using a setup by screen scrolling, which is very interesting. We'll see how it works out. Getting a bit too... Alright, there we go. Sylverfyst having a bit of trouble with this screen right here. Ooh, accidentally uplefting there. But now getting through to the end of... Ooh, getting crushed! I hate when you get crushed there. It's such a bad feeling. And... finally getting through that screen after a bit of trouble. Going to be... going for this strat? Nope. Okay, taking it safe, which is definitely understandable. And now we have the door skip screen. Sylverfyst is just going to play it safe and hit the switches. Unfortunately, messes up hitting that switch there. Hits the spikes next to it and has to do this over. Gets it this try, very nice. Now onto the last screen before the final section of the whole game. The final screen before 3,000 meter. A very unforgiving screen. There, makes it through first try. And now is on to 3,000. So let's get counting for Sylverfyst, who's going to be in the final portion of the game now. Heading into the downdrafts. see how this goes. Oh, accidentally falling, but makes it up. There we go. Ooh. Skipping that checkpoint there, skipping flag 24. We'll see if that comes back to bite him in the butt. Doesn't. Makes it to 23 just fine. And now at 21. So gonna be nearing the end of the downward wind section very soon. Hitting flag 20, and now just has to do these upward dashes to make it to the end of the section. This is a very dangerous section because of the gravity, so it's very good to be through that and onto the updraft where you're now very flowy instead of being very heavy. Grabbing this checkpoint and dying, that's a checkpoint you usually see some people skip, so it's good to see that Sylverfyst grab that checkpoint, otherwise we would have lost more time than the death caused. That is a very unfortunate death there. Just has to get through the spikes here. Oh, jeez. No! A lot of people don't like that checkpoint because of that very ending, and it unfortunately claims Sylverfyst there. Alright, getting through here, soon to beat the final 10 flags. There we go. That final third of the level, very, very close to being finished up. Let's go, 9. 8. 7. Making good progress onto the getting to the top. 6. Getting to the finals. These last couple gauntlets of spikes and uncool stuff. Skipping flag 5, but there's a checkpoint at the screen transition, so it doesn't matter going to 4. Alright, and Sylverfyst on 4. Oh, bad direction on the dash there. They're getting into the feather now though, and final 3. Having a bit of problem here involving this feather at checkpoint 3. Alright, now just has to get through here into the final 2. Into very precise refresh crystal grabs, double dashes, and stamina management. Into the final checkpoint. Just has to climb up here and will be finished with the run. And all right, finishing in second place, we have Sylverfyst with a very good time of 50-21. GG's to Sylverfyst on that fantastic finish. And that is our race. I don't know if we're going to get Sylverfyst in here. All right, and since Sylverfyst is going to be passing on doing a post-race interview, we're going to be ending this off here. So checking out the schedule, it looks like we do have more races in an hour. We're going to have Shujaz versus Alzaraf on Speed Gaming 3. You're going to have FC Racers on commentary for that, which is pretty exciting. But that's our only other Celeste race on left for today. Although we do have many tomorrow to look out for. And you can do !Celeste in chat for the schedule and the brackets if you want to see how our groups are looking. And as always, you can, at the end of a race, if you'd like to, you can feel free to follow the runners if you liked the way they played, or if you liked the way the commentator commentated, you can check them out as well. And with that, I'm done saying everything that needs to be said. So I'm going to get out of here and try and get this ginormous bug off my wall. I'll see you guys later.